let's lock in.
Now get ready. Here we go.
What is going on, y'all? It is Arkham. We have ourselves a tier list. I, as of late, have now officially gone on every single ride in this park as of last week. So now we can rank all of these rides in a tier list, and holy moly, we got a lot of work to do because there's a lot of rides in this park. But without that being said, if you guys like these kind of tier lists and you want me to do more tier lists, leave a like, comment what you think if you agree or disagree with anything I put on this tier list. Don't forget to subscribe for more. We got some vlogs coming out soon. We have Decade Day around the corner. We have so many big things coming up that I am so fired up for you guys. This is going to be such an absolute blast. I cannot wait. Let's get started. First things first, we got to go over the tiers. That's the most important part. That's what makes a tier list a tier list. We have to go through the tiers. So let's start from the top. We have our Super Elite Marathon tier. This is a tier that I dub to be the best of the best in this park. These are rides that I will go on and I will marathon it if I am given the opportunity to. These are rides that if I'm able to stay in my seat and just experience it for what it is, I will stay in my seat and keep experiencing where it is. If I gotta move my seat just to get other people on the ride, I will do that, but I just want to get on, get off, and just keep looping it over and over again. We have the amazing must rides here. These are rides I often don't miss out on. They're not as good as the Super Elite rides where I would continually marathon it, but they are still really good, and they are certainly a must do in the park. They also could be considered a very good supporting cast. Speaking of supporting cast, we have the buttloads of fun and rides most of the time tier. This is a tier, again, that I find these rides a lot of fun, but most of the time I'll end up going on these rides. These are rides that honestly for me don't stand out as much as the amazing and the Super Elite tier, but they are still really good rides that you guys should go in and check out yourselves because they're just that good. We have the Can Ride Once in a While tier. This is a tier that I ride once in a blue moon. I don't ride it that often. These are rides I don't do very often, mostly because, one, I don't think they're that good, and two, I just think that there are stronger rides, and they're just better rides. I think for a lot of the cases, this is where like a lot of like the top kiddie rides are going to end up going, and I know obviously a lot of these kiddie ride rankings are going to seem a little unfair, mostly because, one, I'm now too tall to ride a bunch of them, and, well, you'll see what I mean in a minute. And then I have the Do It If I Really Want or Have to tier. These are rides I'll only do if I so really have to do it, or if I just want to do it for a certain day, maybe because they added an effect on it and I want to see maybe if it changed my ranking, or see if they, like, updated something with it, and it's like, alright, maybe this is going to ride a little different. One of those kind, that's really what this tier is. Again, I don't genuinely think there's a necessarily bad ride in the park, but then again, it's one of those things where it's like, for me, it's like, I could stay a half day and have a great day. I could stay a full day, have an even better day, but it's a matter of, like, picking and choosing your battles at this point. And then I have another tier here, which is called the Forget About It Ride But You've Been Warned tier. These are rides, personally, I will probably never get to ride. I will never be able to ride again. So unfortunately, a lot of the kiddie rides are going to go into this section because I physically can't go on it anymore. But another thing that this tier is also here for is the fact that this could also be a tier that's considered in this spot if, for instance, that maybe it's an upcharge that I don't think is worth it, for example. Maybe it is a type of ride that maybe isn't necessarily a ride, which the park does advertise one of these rides as a ride, and it's not even a ride. You don't even sit in anything. So we'll get to that one in a minute, because I have some feelings about that one. And there's a couple of other things. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Rides that personally I would skip. I maybe would ride it once a season just to say, hey, I did it. And then after that, I would usually just call it after that. Alright, so without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to go in alphabetical order here, and we're just going to go right through this entire thing. We'll talk a little bit about each of the rides. Again, we're going in alphabetical order, starting with, this is the Air Jumbo. This is the discount Dumbo attraction that is located right next to the Skyscreamer. This might be a little bit of a hot take, but the cars itself, I'm sorry, they kind of look like Dopey and Dumbo just had a child. I love Disney, no disrespect, but I don't know, they look kind of goofy. This ride was actually formerly in the Golden Kingdom, in their kiddie area, where they had like a tiny like swing. They had the Bugaboo over there, that was running, but now like all that kind of got moved to the right side of the park. This is a ride if I really have to or want to. I mean, this is not a ride that I would repeat. I'll occasionally ride it, just like if I need like a break or something, but it's not one that I want to do just because I don't want to interfere with the families. I mean, this is for the younger kids. These are for those that, like, they don't feel like they're ready for Skyscraper, which is literally its next door neighbor. This is a ride that they could ride instead of the Air Safari, which God knows only knows what's happening with that plane ride that's right by the Storm Chaser. So that's why you're not going to see Air Safari on this list, which I would have put on here, but I don't even know if it's going to come back. Skyway's also not on this list for the same reasons. The Barnstormer, on the other hand, I'm actually going to put up here in the can ride once in a while. This is one of the few rides. This one actually opened up very recently. It was located in Looney Tunes Seaport, a ride that I used to operate. It got moved to where that stage was, where they had like shows occasionally, like a little kid show. They have since moved it right in that spot. It's a much better spot. It's right next to the Bugaboo now. Which is, I think, a great location for it, because you can easily see it as you're walking in from the side of Skull Mountain. So it's one of the first things that you would see running. It probably is the most unreliable ride of the kiddie rides, not gonna lie. Even though they did rework it and relocate it, I still think that this ride is a little bit on the more unreliable side, and I think the new paint job they gave it is really good. And now we get to move a ride into the A tier, the amazing must-ride tier. That's Batman the Ride. I don't care that this ride is a clone. I don't care that there are like 7 other copies of this ride. It's a great ride. I got a ride on it just the other day, and I swear it was the fastest it's ever ran. And especially if it is boiling heat out, I mean, this thing is going to fly through this track. And it slams you to a stop when you're done. It hauls. This ride is a tiny but mighty beast. I have it right now in my top 5 at the park, and that just goes to show you how powerful this ride is. It's a short ride in terms of length as well as in terms of height. It's only about a little over 100 feet. That's not a big difference. And the fact that it's able to do all that, pack all that in, is absolutely incredible. It's a truly amazing ride. You cannot miss this ride. It's really, really good. The Buccaneer. I really liked the Buccaneer when I was a kid. If I ride on an end seat, I would say loads of fun. But for right now, I'm going to put it... I might move it up, but I'm going to put it in the can once in a while tier. I will ride this occasionally. I won't ride it every time, but I would only ride it probably for the end seat. Bugaboo, unfortunately, I got to put down here, and the only reason for that is because I can't ride it anymore. I'm too big. I'm too tall. I'm too tall to ride it. I cannot go on the Bugaboo anymore. So I have to put it down in the forget about it tier. However, for the little kids, I mean, they would probably love this as their first big ride. Before you give them something like the little Devil Coaster or something like that. But then again, it's a carousel. You gotta kind of pick your battle. Speaking of carousel, we have the Bugs Bunny one. This is a small one. I'm going to put it in the D tier. Do it if I really want to. Very, very small carousel. Of all the carousels, this is the one I kind of know the least about, honestly. But it's a standard carousel. It's what you would expect. This is the Bugs Bunny National Park Water Tower. This is not an attraction, but the park lists it as one. Basically, it's just a little water spout. That's really what it is. It spews water out. That's it. It's not an attraction. You're not sitting in a vehicle. You're not going through a massive experience. It's not a ride. Oh my gosh. I don't know, but they listed it as a ride, so I'm gonna consider it a ride for today, out of respect. And then we have the Rangers, and again, I'm too tall for this. I can't go on that, so I have to put it into that tier. The carousel, the big carousel, this one actually is really nice. And I think it got a new logo recently, too. Personally, I would put it here. I'll put it towards the top of D, though, because it's actually really nice looking. I ride it, I don't say once in a while. Maybe I'll do it once a season, depending who I'm with. I'll occasionally just go on it just to go on it. But I don't do it every single time I'm there, just because it's just a standard carousel. It's nothing special. It does look. It's probably one of the nicer carousels. It was also repainted, so I do have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Cyborg Cyberspin. This ride gets too much hate. I feel like this ride gets too much hate. I'm gonna put in the buttloads of fun. I'll ride this most of the time, especially for two reasons. One, this ride's gonna get no line. It's not gonna get a single line. I'm telling you that right now. When Flash opens, it's probably not going to have that big of a wait. The trick with Cyborg Cyberspin is to ride it during Holiday in the Park. One, because it's not going to be that busy. Two, because this ride, I feel, runs way better when there's not a lot of people on the ride. So oftentimes, I'll actually start my day on Cyborg. And the reason for that is because I know I will get a better ride on Cyborg when there's not a lot of people on it. So, unlike Wonder Woman, where I feel like Wonder Woman's more powerful with more people, and Twister also, for me, feels the same way. It's much better when there's more people on it. Cyborg's the opposite. It's better when there's less people on it. So, because there's so much weight on that middle gondola and everything spinning on like a on this like mass gyrosphere, it's obviously disorienting. And another thing, I didn't even notice that ride's made by Intamin. Even though ABC is like the main people that came up with that, it was actually Intamin that designed the Tourbillon, which I didn't even know. We have the Daffy Duck Hot Air Balloons. I'm gonna put this in the can ride once in a while. I'm gonna put it underneath the Barnstormer here. This is one of the very few rides in the kiddie area that I could actually go on. But it's basically the Sky Zuma, which is somewhere over here, right here. But it goes up a tower, and then it goes down a tower, and you do spinny things. They also use this ride for, like, Physics Day. So sometimes it's open, sometimes it's not open. This is probably the more technologically advanced ride in that area of the park, so it might not be open all the time, but I think it's still a satisfactory ride. It does get the job done. I'll probably ride it once a season. Daredevil Dive. Now, I was debating about the pay per rides for a while because I didn't exactly know what I want to do with them. I think in terms of Daredevil Dive, because of the pay aspect, I'm gonna put it at the top of C. But in terms of thrill, I would say A. Oh God. I'll put it in B. I'll put it in B. Because I think it's just the best of both worlds. It's a good ride. I'm not gonna go on it every single time because I'd have to pay for it. I'm not gonna pay $10 to ride solo or the group. It's $10 for this ride is just not it for me. I'm sorry, it's just not it. Deja Vu. This is the Scrambler. I'm gonna put this in the B tier as well. I think that Deja Vu is a solid flat. It's a very good supporting cast. It's a great flat ride that they needed. It opened alongside the Bumper Cars Fender Bender and Air Jumbo and the Skyscreamer. I believe it was 2012 when they got this. So, really strong additions. And they desperately needed flat rides in this area, and I'm really glad that they actually got some flats. They really needed that. And here's our first Super Elite Marathon, El Toro. Oh, yeah. My favorite roller coaster of all time currently with Maverick. Oh, man. there's a reason that this ride has won Best Wooden Coaster in the Golden Tickets. There's a reason that it is considered and respected for what it is. Because it is prefabricated, it's able to do things that any other wooden coaster just simply can't do unless your name is Alan Shokey in RMC. This ride's just a powerhouse. If it is boiling hot out, you are going to go insane. This ride does not let up. Rows 2, 5, 8, 11, 14, 17, all the middle car rows are amazing. It's smoother in those rows. People still say it's rough. I mean, obviously it's for a wooden coaster, but I mean, in terms of other wooden coasters that one may have ridden, this is like way better than the other wooden coasters in terms of smoothness. Trust me. There definitely is like a fine line when it comes to that, so it's much, much better. Teacups! Can ride once in a while. I'll keep the Buccaneer up there. C tier. Great supporting ride in Adventure Alley. I think that teacups are almost like a necessity in the park at this rate. It's still good. Still good. Fender benders, I'm going to actually put here. I actually like the bumper cars. I just don't ride it that often. So you know what? I'm gonna actually move it down. I'll actually keep it at the top C. I love bumper cars. I just don't ride it that often. I just often skip it because there's just for me, I think there's just better things, and I think there's just better bumper cars. They also have the wrong type of bumper car. They don't have the right picture for the right cars they use, but. Not only do I think that there are better bumper cars, this one kind of has you go into a loop, going around counterclockwise, around like the central track. So there's not really a lot to the bumper car-ing when you're kind of going around in this circle. So I mean, it is whatever one would choose. So and however they see fit. We have the Foghorn Leghorn Stagecoach Express. I actually thought this ride was entirely non-existent. It is literally stuffed behind the Daffy Duck hot air balloons, and I feel like everybody skips it. And I can understand why. I don't know much about this ride, but all I know is that this ride is, like, I can't ride it. I just know that much, because I'm too tall. That's what I know. It basically has the same restrictions as the Tree Top. Where's the Tree Top Hopper? It has the exact same restrictions. Where it's like, you have to be, where it's like 36, if you're not 36 inches, you can't ride. If you're not 36 inches tall, you can't ride. If you're under 54, you can't ride. But if you're in between, you have to be with somebody. What? The restrictions on this ride are just make no sense at all. Giant Wheel is not open, but based off of when it was called the Big Wheel, I would say, I would put it at actually towards the top. I put it right here. B tier. But loads of fun. Who does not like great views? Seriously, who does not like to have good views in the park? This is a great experience. Absolutely go get some good views. I really like this ride. Anytime it doesn't have a long wait, I often get on it. Because you know what? You might see some things. As for me, I would get some pretty cool shots of some rides. When I'm at the top and they're loading in cars, I'd be like, hey, take your time. I'll stay up here as long as I want. The go-karts. The Great American Road Race. Same deal with the Daredevil Dive, but I'd probably take Daredevil Dive over the go-karts. Although I do like go-karts a little bit more. I will put it, can ride once in a while. Again, it's a pay-per attraction. I'm sure if these... I don't know. Do they use electric cars? I have no idea. If they use electric cars, I don't know why people have to pay for it, but... Whatever. It's go-karts. It's standard go-karts. What you would expect with go-karts is exactly what you'd expect. Green Lantern. Yeah, get in there. I can ride this once in a while. I'm a guy. Us guys know exactly what's happened to us on these kind of rides. Are they smooth? Yeah, they're smooth. Is it intense? Yeah, it's intense. But my God. Yeah, no thank you. I don't have the time to do it that often because of that. It's not anything I really want to go on. Harley Quinn. I'm also going to put in here. I'll ride it once in a while. This is like one of those kind of rides where I think that it's really strong for the kids. If you want the best experience on Harley Quinn, you have to ride it in row 20. Don't ride it in any other row. Go in row 20. That's like the best seat on this ride, and it's not even a question. Outside of that, I don't really think that there's anything great about Harley Quinn. I mean, you go around twice, so I'll give it benefit of the doubt there. But so does Little Devil Coaster. It's a bigger Little Devil Coaster. But it's a Little Devil Coaster that I'm more comfortable riding than the Little Devil Coaster. We have Houdini now. Houdini, unfortunately, is closed until Fright Fest, but this ride is so underrated. When it's open, you gotta check this thing out. I know it's finicky. I know this might seem like a hot take. I'm gonna put it in must ride. I think people skip this ride too much. People skip Houdini too much. They say, "Oh, it's a cool building." They don't realize they can walk in it, and it's a whole optical illusion attraction that's actually really, really sick. When this ride is open, do me a favor and go on it. It's actually really, really good and definitely a great supporting cast attraction. It's one of 4 indoor rides, so it's certainly worthwhile. It's certainly worth your while. I would check it out. It's open in the rain. So if things start to rain and things start to close down, you have this, Skull Mountain, Dark Knight, and Justice Week to go on. So again, you're getting the benefit of the doubt by getting on this. My guess is that they probably closed it because they just don't want to deal with it as they're doing all the construction. It probably would have been open by now if they didn't have all the construction in the park for the 50th anniversary, but this is a must ride. I hope it stays for a while. I hope they... Because now that Vekoma is working on Flash, and this is a Vekoma Madhouse, hey, maybe they'll fix up Houdini for a little bit and keep its longevity going, because it's a really good ride. Jersey Devil's also going to go in... It's going to go to the top of A tier. Jersey Devil is so good. Compared to the rest of the roller coasters in the park, though, it's really hard to put it any higher. And that just goes to show you how good that this thrill ride collection at Great Adventure is. The fact that I have to put an RMC in the A tier. When it's on a blazing hot day and you are in row 12, you absolutely are sent everywhere. It is pure chaos from start to finish on this ride. It is forceful as heck. You're dug into your seat. The airtime is legit. It's such a good ride. It's a really good ride. You have to get yourself on it. If it's running multiple trains, wait the line. Or get a Flash Pass, I would make sure to experience this ride at least once. People say it's rough. I don't find it rough. Personally, I don't find it rough whatsoever. I think this ride's great. It's an amazing ride. It's in my top 10 right now, but then again, my top 100 ain't really legit yet. So it's one of those kind of things. Go check out Jersey Devil Coaster. Absolutely would. It is a ride that I would marathon if it's early in the day. It's not one that I would wait maybe 30 minutes for or like 45 minutes for. So that's why it's not going in the S tier. I would have put it there, but it's not a ride that I would wait. If it was running all 4 trains, it was running at full potential, and maybe there was no lines, I would wait it, but I would do a marathon on it. But the first time I actually got on it, I actually did a marathon of 10 rides. Because I'm like, oh my god, this is my first RMC. So, that was kind of that. I think recently I rode it like 7 times. And then after that, after that I've kind of realized where I feel like my rankings of these rides go. We have Jolly Roger, which has actually started opening up on weekends now, even despite everybody saying that it's going to stay closed for the rest of the season, which, screw you for saying that. I'm going to put it in the... Oh, God. I'm going to put in D tier. I'll do it if I really want to. I just think it's kind of just a leisure go-around. I just don't think it's really worth my time. I mean, then again, I might like think of it differently if I were to go on it again. So like, I wouldn't be opposed to trying it again. But it's a ride that I haven't done in so long that I can't really put it any higher right now. Justice League. I ride this most of the time. I'll put it at the top of B. I ride this ride most of the time. You all know from my vlogs. I go on this ride very often. I could do like 2 or 3 rides on it. See if I can improve my score. Figure out ways to get my score higher. I think my record right now on it is 250. 250k. So I'm trying to get it up there. I want to hit 300k, which would be great if I could get that. But will I get there? I don't think so. We'll see. You never know. It's really hard with the kinks that this, what the ride itself has. Now that they're not running it with the 3D anymore, so it's rather tricky to say the least to get it to where one would want it to go. All right, let's talk about Kingda Ka. I think for a lot of people this would be an S tier ride. Here's where my struggle is with Kingda Ka. It's definitely S or A. It's a must ride. Would I marathon it? Maybe. I'd probably marathon it. I've never marathoned Kingda Ka before. I probably would. But is it worth a marathon? It's 17 seconds to launch, up a tower, down a tower, non-existent airtime hill, into the brakes. For a lot of people, they would travel like they just had a group come in from there. They had a coaster enthusiast group coming from Germany just to get on Kingda Ka. So like people are aware of the existence of this ride. They would go length to get on Kingda Ka. I think because of that alone, it should go into S tier. People know that this ride is a force to be reckoned with, right? They are aware that this ride is such a huge stepping stone in the coaster industry with what it's capable of doing. Now it has a whole flat ride on it. It's like, come on. You have to put this thing up there. I mean, if I were to rank it as the coasters, like, itself, then we're talking, like, a different story here. But in terms of the rides in the park as a whole, I would say that that's got to be S tier. But if we're talking about rides, if we're talking about the roller coasters by itself, I'd have a different opinion on it. So that's why I'm putting it there. That's why I'm putting it in the S tier for this one. When I do a top 10 or a top 15, I'll probably do a top 15 once Flash opens. That's probably what I'll do. And that's where I'll really talk about my personal opinions on a lot of these roller coasters, because I haven't really gone too in-depth with a lot of them. Speaking of another roller coaster, we got the Little Devil Coaster. This one I'll do if I really want or have to. I'll put it at the top of D. Again, it's a kiddie coaster. It's super small. It's the most basic Coco Cruiser layout ever. Relocated from the Looney Tunes Seaport into the area, into that plot of land across from the Sky Zuma with the little fountain. It replaced another kiddie ride that I will not speak of because it was absolute torture to operate. And this ride it's a kiddie ride coaster. I'm glad that they brought it back after they added Jersey Devil. Because the kiddies needed a coaster, and now they got a coaster. The only other coaster that they had was Harley Quinn, and has a 36-inch minimum height requirement. So now they have one that's a little bit under that, which is great. Now we have Medusa. Medusa's the first ever four-wheel roller coaster, which in itself gives it that moniker as a must-ride. Now, as of this season, I've often skipped Medusa because of its line and the fact that it was operating on one train. Now, here my question is that do I think Medusa is a better ride than Batman? I think that as it stands in itself, Medusa is a great supporting roller coaster for the rest of the roller coasters. I think it's a great supporter. And I think that there are generally a good amount of roller coasters that are way worse than this. As you can see that I have ranked a couple of them. I'm going to put it below Batman. No, I'm going to actually put it below Houdini. I'm still going to put it in A tier. when Medusa's running at full potential, it's actually a really cool ride. With if the flamethrowers are working, which they still haven't been working this whole season, I don't even know if they're coming back. Which would really bum me out if they're not coming back, because the flamethrowers I think are a great addition for the ride. Ever since it was Bizarro, they've kept the flamethrowers for Medusa. They've kept a lot of the effects from Bizarro and just left it there. I guess just as near misses. But I think as of right now, I would take Batman over Medusa. Medusa is the much longer ride, don't get me wrong. But the trims on it do absolutely destroy the ride when it gets to the mid-course. Maybe they'll turn the trims off when they get multiple trains running, but I don't even know if that's going to happen. Nitro. Ooh. Nitro is probably one of the easiest rides to marathon. I'm going to put an S. Nitro is so easy to marathon. So, marathoning Nitro is... I don't care. I will marathon Nitro. So have it be. I have an absolute blast on Nitro every single time. Not only that, but it is running god fast. It is running so fast this season. That helix before the mid-course is certainly a gray out moment. And you feel every inch of that helix as you keep progressing upwards. It is wild. It's a really wild experience. Still haven't had a trimless run on Nitro yet, but I'm sure it would be absolutely chaotic. It is a chaotic ride in itself. So I thoroughly have had nothing but a blast on that ride, and I absolutely would go on it every single time. And if it's sooner or later, it'll be on 3 trains, so that'll just make the line go even faster. It's running with 2 trains at the current moment. These are the Porky Pig Stagecoach Ferris wheel thing. I don't know the full name, but it's Porky Pig. This I'm gonna have to put in the forget about it. It's certainly a more unique forget about it ride. Again, I'm not tall. I'm too tall. I'm not gonna fit in that. I'm gonna be cramped inside of that. Also, I got the big wheel, so I'm not too much complaining. I can forget about it. Same with the Raja Rickshaw. If you have Deja Vu, you don't need Rajas. Seriously, it's a tiny Deja Vu. And not only that, but the restriction on this ride is that if you're under 48 inches, you can't ride it. So it's a super, super strict ride policy on Raja. If you're over 48 inches, you can't ride. So, you could be 36 inches, you could ride Raja Rickshaw, and you could ride Deja Vu. Just go on Deja Vu at that point. Just go on Deja Vu. But, I mean, it's for the little ones. They would get them used to that kind of motion. Roaring Rapids. I would put it probably at the bottom of the B tier. And the only reason is that I'm not a fan of getting them super wet. If I'm going to get wet, I'm already in it. So, I will often ride it if I'm with a group of people, but I will not ride it if I'm by myself. Runaway Mine Train. Runaway Mine Train, I've actually been riding most of the time. Cyborg's better. Giant Wheel? We'll go here. We'll go there. I think Cyborg's better than Runaway Mine Train, yeah. Runaway Mine Train is a ride that's been around since the very beginning of the park. So it's the last standing roller coaster, I'm pretty sure, that opened with the park. And they gave it repaint on the trains. I think they gave it a new operating system as well. But otherwise, it's the same old Runaway Mine Train that we all know and love. It's solid. It still runs well. It's still got that weird jolt that's right before the big finale, which is so... You can literally see that jolt from anywhere. It's definitely quite the pothole, but it's good. I go on... I do one ride pretty much all the time I'm there, just because it's actually solid. The Safari I'm going to put in the top, pretty much top of A tier. It's a Safari, guys. Who does not want to go and see the animals? Who doesn't want to go see the animals? The Safari is a must ride. It's not a ride that I would marathon, which is why I'm not putting it in the S tier. But you have to do the safari. When you're in the park, you got to do it. You have to do it. They have 2 different treks now. They have one that's a little bit outside the park where the old safari entrance is. You now, like, park your car, and then you kind of go into that little plaza area, and then you will just wait for your car, for your truck, and that truck will take you around the entire course. The one in the station next to Best of the West, across from the Runaway Mine Train, that station is a little bit more. It's a little bit more of a modified layout, but you go through a lot of the same stuff, and you're also right next to Savannah Sunset, which is going to be really, really cool. I've never seen what Savannah Sunset even looks like yet, so I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more reviews on when people start to talk about that a little bit more. Speaking of the log flume, we have the log flume. Now, the log flume hasn't even opened up this season yet, but I would probably put it in line with the Roaring Rapids. I'd probably take the log flume over it. I'll kind of put them next to each other. It's still a really good ride. It's great when it's really hot out. Hopefully it'll be open by July 1st. It's getting really close to that already. I think we still got like a week and a half to go. Yeah, they're running out of time. Hopefully they'll put some pedal to the metal on that, and they can start testing it as soon as possible. But it's looking really good. It's a good ride. It'll really liven up the area once it opens. Skull Mountain, I'm going to put in the B tier. I would say it's about right here. Yeah, I go on this most of the time. I go on Skull Mountain most of the time. Even though they turn it into a disco party, even though I kind of bash on it, it's still a ride that's really great with the families. It's short. It's got blasting music. It's got lighting. So it's not scary by any stretch of the means. It's really just, if you get that back row, last row, you get some crazy whip over that first drop. It's probably some of the best whip in the park, personally. It's my recommended seat if you were to ride Skull Mountain. So definitely go and check out Skull Mountain when you can. I ride it most of the time when I'm there, and I think you guys should give it a shot. Skyzuma! Skyzuma. You're going to go into the D tier here. I'll ride it if I have to. They have this already in Jenkinson's, so it's the same exact ride that they have in Jenkinson's. It's now just here, across from the little Devil Coaster, that little plaza. I think I'd say, like, if it were, like, a true, like, ride in terms of, like, for the kids, I would probably end up moving it. I'd probably take Daffy over Skyzuma. Personally, I could spin really fast on Skyzuma, but this occasionally... This is actually going to prompt me. I'm going to move Little Devil up. I kind of feel like I'm disrespecting Little Devil a little bit. I'm moving Little Devil up. Because I could technically ride it once in a while. I can ride it by myself if I want to, but... Zuma, I'm going to sit at the top of D. Mainly because I haven't ridden this model in a long time. But, I mean, it's still fine. It's still good. It's not a bad ride by any stretch of the means. Putting a ride in the D tier, I just want to, again, clarify that doesn't make it a bad ride. So, that just because I'm saying that this is in the D tier doesn't mean it's a bad ride. There's going to be people here that say that's Jolly Roger's their favorite ride in the park. So, by all stretch of the means, if Jolly Roger's your favorite ride in the park, bless you. Sky Screamer. I'm honestly going to argue A tier. I'm going to argue A tier for Sky Screamer. Because 230 feet up in the air. The third tallest ride in the park. Yes. This is the third tallest ride in the park. That's wild. That is wild. It's slightly taller than Nitro. It is definitely taller than the Giant Wheel, and you see that when you're on it. You don't get as tall as Zumanjaro, you don't get as tall as King Ka, but you're definitely taller than El Toro. You can see the whole park from the top on a clear day. It's a really great view. They also have like an Extreme Flight version, which I've never done, and I probably will never do. Speaking of crazy flights and extreme flights, we have the Slingshot. Man, it's an intense one. It's definitely not one I'd marathon, but if there's one pay-per-ride that I would do, it's probably going to be the Slingshot. The swing shot's definitely the best pay-per-ride in the park. There really isn't any competition there. Like, if you were told that one of them had to go, or if you had to keep one, remove two. Remove Great American Road Race, remove Daredevil Dive, or remove Swing Shot. I would be removing Daredevil Dive and Great American Road Race and leaving the Swing Shot, personally. So, with that being said, Swing Shot is, if you were going to purchase and pay for a ride, you pay for the Swing Shot. That's probably the best one, without question. And you can see that thing wherever you go. Storm Chaser, we have the Skyscraper, so personally, I don't think I'd go on it. I can technically ride the Storm Chaser, because there's no height restriction for it, but personally, I would rather go on Skyscraper. When you have a bigger set of something else in the park, it's always going to be better than the smaller one, especially if it's a kiddie one versus a big one. But then again, I would definitely go like on these like D tier rides if I like had a little one or like a little cousin or like anyone else that's like the parents are like, oh, I don't want to go, I'll go, and I will step up and volunteer. However, Superman, yeah, get down here. Where can I put you? Oh, you'll definitely go above this. Definitely above that. Yeah. Superman is mid. Again, Superman is mid. It's mid. The only saving grace about Superman is the pretzel loop. The pretzel loop, the force you get on that pretzel loop is absolutely nutty. It drives you into... It digs your back into the seat. And it's so cool. But that's the only thing about it. Not only that, there's one that's twice the... There's a pretzel loop that is twice the size in California at Six Flags Magic Mountain on Tatsu. I would much prefer doing that one. And not only that, but that pretzel loop over there is the finale of the ride. So you actually have something to look forward to. This pretzel loop is at the very beginning of the ride, which means what do you look forward to after that? After the pretzel loop, you know what I look forward to? The brake run. It's mid. If they got rid of this ride, I wouldn't be mad. It's just mid. It's not good. It's not good. I'll ride it once in a while if it has no line. But it's just not for me. Flying coasters are not my cup of tea. There's so many better rides. For me, there's just so many better rides. Swashbuckler is better than this. Swashbuckler is actually, like, pretty solid. I would say Swashbuckler is probably one of the most underrated flat rides in the park. It's going in the middle of B tier. One of the more underrated flat rides because of what it does. It's a common fairground-ish style ride. They have smaller versions at like fairgrounds and whatnot. But this is one of the larger, more permanent versions of this ride. And it's a good ride. Like, the way that it uses the force of you spinning to hug you to the back of like this foam. And all you have to hold yourself onto are handlebars and this mat that's behind you and a chain that's just put in front. That's it. It's really, really cool. And then as you're riding it, you realize it's like, oh, that's literally what this is. It's actually really cool. It's a really cool experience. It's not one that I would do all the time, but it's certainly one that you don't want to miss out on because of the capability of this ride. It's a really cool ride. Check it out once in a while. If you're okay with spinning, definitely do it. If you're not okay with spinning, skip it. Tango. If you were to ask me, Tango would be an absolute S tier. Let's be real here. Tango and where is it? Barnstormer would also be like up here in this super S tier, like that. It would be just like that, but reality is that Tango is basically, I hate to be this person, but Tango's like a lost child. Okay? It's a terrible description. But basically, Tango's a ride that belongs in the kiddie area and I couldn't find it. So if you don't know, remember when I mentioned that the Bugaboo and the Air Jumbo used to be in like this kiddie area that was to the side of Golden Kingdom? The Tango is kind of a part of that, right? The Tango is kind of a part of that kiddie area. So Tango is kind of like the last living and breathing element of that area. And it's... oh, man. I feel so bad for this ride. Because now it's like closed on weekdays. People aren't giving it the love that it deserves. It's a good ride. I mean, this was a ride that I loved as a kid. Tango is like my go-to ride as a child. I feel terrible for this ride. I'm gonna put it in C tier. I think people ignore this ride too much. Whether you're an adult, whether you're a teen, whether you're a 5-year-old, whether you're a 2-year-old, give Tango a shot. I ride it once in a while. It's not a ride that I would marathon. It's not a ride that I think is a must ride, but I think it needs more attention. Like, if you don't give this ride enough attention, they might remove it. And then it would be down to one ride in the Plaza de Carnaval, and that's El Toro. So, the bull needs a friend. Ride Tango, guys. Please ride Tango. Dark Knight. I'll hop right into the C tier. Right into the C tier. It's a Wild Mouse. It's a standard old Wild Mouse with some effects on the inside. It's solid. I mean, it's okay. I wouldn't say that it's... I mean, it's just a Wild Mouse. I can't really think of anything else to say. I mean, it's unique because it's inside and it has effects. It's also not the first. It's also not the only version of that ride. Six Flags Great America has one. I think Over Georgia has one. Has a Dark Knight coaster. So, it's not the only one. The Joker. This is a tough one. Personally. This is a tough one. It's either B or C. I don't mind it, but it's so much randomization with it that you don't even know what you're gonna get. Here's what I'll do. I'm gonna put it at the bottom of B tier. For 2 reasons. Number 1, if you get multiple flips, it's a B plus ride. If you get multiple flips, it's B plus. If you don't get any flips, it's like C, low C, if that. I would say, if you are given the choice to pick the purple or the green side, I would say green side all the way. I feel like the green side spins more. I could be wrong, but I feel like the green side, if you're facing forward going down the first drop, you get more. You get more flips. So try to arrange it in that way. So when you get into the station, you're boarding your vehicle, sit so that you're facing backwards first. And then you're going up and you're the first one over the apex. Because you're always guaranteed to have a flip if you're facing forward. You will always flip forward once over the first drop. So that could mean a good thing. Maybe you'll flip then, but who knows? But the chances is like in between B and C. In between B and C. I'm gonna move Green Lantern up a tier as well. I'm actually gonna flip flop them. Because I'd still take Green Lantern over Superman, but this is, and I'd take Green Lantern over Joker. Treetop Hopper, I'm now to Total Ride. And this is exactly what I said about the Stagecoach. It's in between 36 and 54 inches for this. Also, in my personal opinion, Treetop Hopper is an absolutely terrible introduction for Zumanjaro. Personally. It's not... If this ride is supposed to help pave the way for kids to go on Zumanjaro, it does not do a good job. So, I would personally say, like, this is my favorite ride, one of my favorite rides as a kid, the Treetop Hopper, but it does not do a good job of paving the way for Zumanjaro, because Zumanjaro is a whole nother monster in itself. The Twister's unique, Because much like Joker, it's kind of randomized based on the weight of the vehicle. It depends how many flips you get. Do I take Twister over Cyborg? Is what I'm looking at. It's definitely going to go at least in the B tier for Twister. Again, one of the more underrated rides. But it's also down a lot of the time, mostly because people throw up on it and they don't realize what it can do. So, if you don't know what Twister could do, please, look it up before you get on it. Oh, God. I would probably, honestly... Both of these rides are really good. I'd take Cyborg over it. And that's a tough call. I would take Cyborg over Twister. Twister's going to be the first ride to go, if anything. Twister is probably going to go before Cyborg. But then again, I think Cyborg Cyberspin's not going to be too far behind. Twister at Great Adventure is the last of its kind. So I'm sure they definitely have the parts that they need if they gotta replace some things. Then again, the whole boardwalk in itself needs help. Alright, the last ride in National Park is honestly probably the best one in the National Park. This is the Wile E. Coyote Canyon Blaster. It's basically a kiddie Himalaya. It's probably, I'd say it's one of the best kiddie rides. Period. So I'm going to put it in the can ride once in a while. Because it's actually a pretty solid ride. It's the closest thing you have to a Music Express now. Because now we don't have a Music Express. Alright. Now we get to Wonder Woman and Zumanjaro. Oh boy. Let's start with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman opened in 2017, I'm pretty sure. Swings super high. You see it from just about everywhere. Much like a Zumanjaro. Is it a ride that... Is it a must ride? Yes. This ride's at least going into A tier. Both of these rides at least are A tier. Would I marathon it? I probably could, but it's really hard to marathon this ride because Wonder Woman actually gets a pretty solid line now. So marathoning Wonder Woman's actually not very easy to do. It's actually pretty challenging to marathon Wonder Woman. You'd have to get back around in a line, unless you go there first, which not a lot of people will. So, I've been debating about this for a long time, because I mentioned it the first time I rode on Zumanjaro. I'm like, do I think Zumanjaro is better than Wonder Woman? Aspects of it say yes. But other aspects go against it. So, I'm going to put both of these in S tier. But I'm going to edge it out for Zumanjaro. Here's why. Zumanjaro, firstly, is tucked away directly behind Kingda Ka. In other words, nobody's going to take the walk back there. Because they don't know what's back there. They don't know that the world's tallest drop tower goes all the way back towards that ride. Even though there's a giant sign that says Zumanjaro Drop a Doom to the right of Kingda Ka's entrance, they think, oh, it's just going to go into nothing. It goes into something. Just keep walking. So people always forget about it, which makes it easier to marathon. Wonder Woman deserves to be a marathon attraction. However, if you were to ask me personally, I would say that because of the lines that Wonder Woman could get, it basically makes it impossible to marathon. Which is why I'm tempted to bring it down to the A tier. However, I don't think I'm going to. For two reasons. One, I personally think that what Wonder Woman does is not only really interesting, but it also is intimidating. The same can be said about Zumanjaro. But the intimidation factor of Zumanjaro is like 14 out of 10. Because it's on the face of the world's tallest, currently standing and operating roller coaster. Falcon's Flight has not opened yet at Six Flags Qiddiya. And ever since Icon Park closed their drop tower, Zumanjaro has now reclaimed the throne as the tallest drop ride in the world. So, now you have to put that into perspective. Where do you go about that from here? Well, if you were to ask me, Zumanjaro Oh, man. I think Zumanjaro, I got off of it for the first time, and I'm like, that was it? I kind of questioned, like, what the ride actually advertised. And Wonder Woman, I got off, and I was laughing the entire time. You basically, both of these rides are so good. They're both so good. I can't really move each one around yet, because I don't know what I want to do. I even said before, like, Zumanjaro or Tower of Terror at Hollywood Studios. I took Tower of Terror at Hollywood Studios over Zumanjaro. Personally. So, I think that goes to show just how much I think that Zumanjaro does and makes a really large impact on the park. However, I think there are still a lot of things that, for both these rides, they're just one of a kind. They're in their own league. They really are. They're worth checking out. Definitely go out of your way to figure out how to get to them if they're open, because they're so good. They're really, really good. And I think with that being said, that's going to do it for the tier list. I think we did pretty well. I think that for the tier list that we have here, I think we did pretty good. I would maybe move, if I were given the option, like, to add another tier, I'd probably end up moving. I'd probably have an A+ tier, maybe an A and a B+ tier, but I think for what I have right now, I think this is perfect. I think this is perfect. So, I know that took a little bit longer than usual, and I know I usually spill on a lot of this stuff with each of these rides, but, I mean, for me, a lot of these rides just have a special place in my heart. I mean, I go to this park so often. I think it was about time that I do this, and I'm really curious. I wonder if, like, anything on this list right now is going to change as we get through this season. And maybe that'll spark a conversation to have me come back to this conversation of this tier list and maybe make some changes. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you guys maybe want to see more tier list out of me, leave a like down below. Comment what you would change about the tier list that I made. Subscribe for more content. This is Arkham, and don't forget to thank your ride ops. Have a great rest of your day. Bye!